We're studying Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 9, entitled Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy, Text 11. It's May 17th, 2026. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya, bhagavat utama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. Text 11 of Canto 3, Chapter 9, Srimad Bhagavatam. Tvam Bhakti Yoga Paribhavita Rit Saroje Ase Shrutta Ikshita Pata Nanu Nata Pumsam Yat Diya Te Urugaya Vibhavayanti Tat Vapu Pranayase Sat Anugrahaya. So we'll do one line at a time. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 9, Text 11. So it's a 14-meter verse, so it's the same tune. I mean, there's many possibilities, but the main one for 14 syllables is same as Govinda Madi Pusham Tamaham Bhajami. Tvam Bhakti Yoga Paribhavita Ritsaroja.
Tvam Bhakti Yoga Paribhavita Ritsaroja.
Ase Shutek Shitapato Nanunata Pumsam. Ase Shutek Shitapato Nanunata Pumsam. Yad Diya Ta Urugaya Vibhavayanti.
Yad Diya Ta
Tad Vapu Panayase Sadanugrahaya. Tad Vapu Panayase Sadanugrahaya. Tvam Bhakti Yoga Paribhavita Ritsaroja. Tvam Bhakti Yoga Paribhavita Hitsaroja. Ase Shutek Shitapato Nanunata Pumsam. Ase Shutek Shitapato Nanunata Pumsam. Yad Diya Ta Urugaya Vibhavayanti.
Yad Diya Ta Vibhavayanti.
Tat Vapu Panayase Sadanugrahaya.
Tat Vapu Panayase Sadanugrahaya.
Tvam Bhakti Yoga Paribhavita Ritsaroja.
Tvam Bhakti Yoga Paribhavita Ritsaroja.
Ase Shutek Shitapato Nanunata Pumsam.
Ase Shrute Sitapato Nanunata Pumsam.
Yad Diya Ta Urugaya Vibhavayanti.
Yad Diya Ta Urugaya Vibhavayanti.
Tat Vapu Pranayase Sadanugrahaya.
Tat Vapu Pranayase Sadanugrahaya.
Tvam Bhakti Yoga Paribhavati Ritsaroja.
Tvam Bhakti Yoga Paribhavita Ritsaroja.
Ase Riti Sitapato Nanu Nata Pumsam.
Ase Shutek Shitapato Nanunata Pumsam.
Yad Diya Ta Urakya Vibhavayanti.
Yad Diya Ta Urugaya Vibhavayanti.
Tat Vapu Pranayase Sad Anugrahaya.
Tat Vapu Panayase Sadanugrahaya.
Tam Bhakti Yoga Parabhavita Hit Saroja.
Tvam Bhakti Yoga Paribhavita Ritsaroja.
Ase Shruti Sita Pato Nanunata Pumsam.
Ase Shutek Shitapato Nanunata Pumsam.
Yaya Diya Tayuragaya Vipahavayanti.
Yad Diya Taugaya Vibhavayanti.
Tatad Vapu Pranaya Sisad Anugraya.
Tad Vapu Pranaya Se Sadanugrahaya. Would anyone online like to lead the chanting of the verse? Okay, we'll study the word meanings. Tvam, unto you. Bhakti Yoga, in devotional service. Paribhavita, being 100% engaged. Rit, of the heart. Saroje, on the lotus. Ase, you reside. Shruta ikshita, seen through the ear. Pata, the path. Nanu, now. Nata, O my Lord. Pumsam, of the devotees. Yat, whichever. Diya, by meditating. Te, your. Urugaya, O multi-glorious. Vibhavayanti, they specifically think of. Tat, the very same. Vapu, transcendental form. Pranayase, do you manifest. Sat anugrahaya, to show your causeless mercy. Translation. This is Lord Brahma speaking, singing to Krishna. O my Lord, your devotees can see you through the ears by the process of bona fide hearing, and thus their hearts become cleansed. And you take your seat there. You are so merciful to your devotees that you manifest yourself in the particular eternal form of transcendence in which they always think of you. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The statement here that the Lord manifests himself before the devotee in the form in which the devotee likes to worship him indicates that the Lord becomes subordinate to the desire of the devotee, so much so that he manifests his particular form as the devotee demands. This demand of the devotee is satisfied by the Lord because he is pliable in terms of the transcendental loving service of the devotee. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 11. Ye yatamam prapadyante tamstataiva bhajamyaham. We should note, however, that the Lord is never the order supplier of the devotee. Here in this verse, it is particularly mentioned, Tvam Bhakti Yoga Paribhavita. This indicates the efficiency achieved through execution of mature devotional service, or prema, love of Godhead. This state of prema is achieved by the gradual process of development from faith to love. On faith, one associates with bona fide devotees, and by such association, one can become engaged in bona fide devotional service, which includes proper initiation and the execution of the primary devotional duties prescribed in the revealed scriptures. This is clearly indicated herein by the word Shrutekshita. The Shrutekshita path is to hear from bona fide devotees who are conversant with Vedic wisdom, free from mundane sentiment. By this bona fide hearing process, the neophyte devotee becomes cleansed of all material rubbish, and thus he becomes attached to one of the many transcendental forms of the Lord, as described in the Vedas. This attachment of the devotee to a particular form of the Lord is due to natural inclination. Each and every living entity is originally attached to a particular type of transcendental service because he is eternally the servitor of the Lord. Lord Chaitanya says that the living entity is eternally a servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Therefore, every living entity has a particular type of service relationship with the Lord, eternally. This particular attachment is invoked by practice of regulative devotional service to the Lord, and thus the devotee becomes attached to the eternal form of the Lord, exactly like one who is already eternally attached. This attachment for a particular form of the Lord is called Svarup Siddhi. The Lord sits on the lotus heart of the devotee in the eternal form the pure devotee desires, and thus the Lord does not part from the devotee as confirmed in the previous verse. The Lord, however, does not disclose himself to a casual or inauthentic worshipper to be exploited. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 25. Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavrita. Rather, by yogamaya, the Lord remains concealed to the non-devotees or casual devotees who are serving their sense gratification. The Lord is never visible to the pseudo-devotees who worship the demigods in charge of universal affairs. The conclusion is that the Lord cannot become the order supplier of a pseudo-devotee, but he is always prepared to respond to the desires of a pure, unconditional devotee who is free from all tinges of material infection. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gnanjana Shalakaya Chakshuranitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Garange Radhe Vrindavaneshware Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatiyubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gvavani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 3 Chapter 9 Text 11 Tvam Bhakti Yoga Paribhavita Ritsaroja Ase Shrutek Shitapato Nanunatta Pumsam Yad ta'ugaya vibhavayanti tat tad vapu pranayase sadanugrahaya. O my Lord, your devotees can see you through the ears by the process of bona fide hearing, and thus their hearts become cleansed, and you take your seat there. You are so merciful to your devotees that you manifest yourself in the particular eternal form of transcendence in which they always think of you. Hare Krishna. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada so many times uses this word bona fide, and he uses the word pseudo. So making a distinction, bona fide, pure, fully aligned with the Parampara, Lord Brahma, and then there's the pseudo devotees like that. And so Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvidha Bhajante Mam, Jana Sukritin Arjuna, Arto Jigyasur Artati Gyanicha Bharatarshava. Krishna says, people come towards my devotion for different reasons. And some because they want their daily bread. So Prabhupada talks about order supplier. And Krishna and Prabhupada, they emphasize, and that's fine, that Krishna is a supreme pure, param brahma, param dhamma, pavitram, purusham, divyam, shashvatam, yes, adideva majam vibhu, that Krishna is so like, so you have someone approaching Krishna, approaching God, so that my family members have good health, so that my business can triple the profits. And Krishna says these are common reasons why people approach the Supreme. And he says they're all magnanimous because you're approaching the Supreme rather than rejecting the existence of a higher power. But that's not pure devotion. That's not pure devotion. But then we get purified. Whatever our motivations, I like to believe that my endeavors at Bhakti Yoga and Sadhana are more pure now than 40 years ago. I like to think that. Okay, and so then there's pure devotion, and then there's devotion mixed with desires for karma and jnana. And maybe through devotion I can get some mystic power, or I'll go to heaven and enjoy, or my business so successful. Oh, this devotional service is very powerful. And so through devotional service I'll be able to crush my enemies. There can be different, okay, and it's not pure at the same time. Like the idea is akama sarvakama va mokshakamu dharadi tivrena bhakti yogena yadita pusham param. Whatever our motivations, the recommendation of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, engage in devotional service with intensity, and we get more and more purified and more spiritually happy. So when he says Krishna, God as order supplier, he's referring to the daily bread mentality. You know, it's like this, the supreme controller. Ultimately, the supreme controller's function is to supply my orders. Now do this, now do that. Okay, like that. And that's different than, again, a pure devotee with no desires other than to please Krishna, to please God, and God's pure devotee. Then, well, this is exemplified in the statements of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. For example, the final statement in his Sri Shiksastakam, Ashli Shava Padaritam Pinashtumam Darshanam Marmatam Kurutuva Itatata Bhavidadatu Lapatoma Prananatas Tusa Eva Napara. That just I'm your servant unconditionally. You may make me brokenhearted by never being present before me. I'm not doing this for any reciprocal. I'm your eternal servant unconditionally, and wherever I am, actually, yes. So, so also Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu states, "Na danam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamaye, mama janmani Sri bhavatat bhakti rahetukitvai." He's praying to Krishna. I have no desire for beautiful women, for opulence, for followers. People follow me because I'm a great spiritual. All I want is your devotional service, birth after birth. One thing, in many places actually, Srila Prabhupada will specify that, like in such statements where it says women, and Prabhupada will say, and for women, that means men. Makes it clear. Okay. I mean, it's like it's obvious, but sometimes Prabhupada say when it says like for attraction to beautiful women, and for women that means for a handsome man. So he'll just clarify that, just to be clear. And so, so Lord Chaitanya is saying, yes, I don't want any of that. I just want your service now. Significantly, Mama Janmane Ishvare Bhavatad Bhakti Hetu Kitvai. And he says, I just want your service birth after birth. So they're not even looking for liberation. The mentality is, well, I'm so I'm so filled with selfish material desires and gross material desires. Of course, I'm not going to get liberated from the cycle of birth and death. Okay, so let me take birth wherever, as long as I can serve you. So that's the mentality. Actually, I was just reading yesterday. I'm reading. This is Srila Prabhupada's 1966 New York Journal. Okay, and so this is like when he was struggling there. He was first living on the Upper West Side, and then he was living in the Bowery with someone who looked like he was serious to take to Vaishnavism, but he became like LSD crazy and started attacking Prabhupada. Like lots of difficulties, some of which you're familiar with, but you get into more details. More in his place. It's his. Everything was stolen. Not that he had much, but whatever. $75 in his typewriter and his dictaphone, and like all these struggles. Okay, but so one entry in his diary. These are some drawings. I'll mention that the drawings are done by Mother Janava. Mother Janava came to Prabhupada's movement like 1968 in Seattle, and she was in the very first full advanced seminar early 2003 with Scott McGregor, Sabyasachi, and Shraddha, and so many. And she retook the courses 2017. Her twin daughters took the courses in 2005, and so she's a wonderful devotional artist. So she did all the drawing, all the art for these volumes.
And for Sappho.
Yes, what's that?
And for Sappho.
And for Sappho, that's right. And you're intimately connected with that service.
I am.
Right. Yes, so like mostly all of the drawings we have for the roadblocks and like that's from Mother Janava. That's correct. So one entry, Srila Prabhupada in his journal, March 6th, 1966. Prabhupada writes, according to Mayapur Panjika, today is Adivas Day of Gaura Pranim. So it's Lord Chaitanya's appearance day. And Prabhupada's in some like room in New York like that. And he says, devotees at Vrindavan and Navadvip are enjoying the celebration, big celebration. It's one of the main festival days. And Prabhupada writes, I am here alone without any devotee companion, but I have come here to serve the Lord and not for personal happiness. I am prepared to live in hell even if I am able to serve the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted that his mission should be propagated all over the world, and that is my objective. I do not mind the inconvenience personally felt. That's Prabhupada's expression of unconditional devotional service. And saying in the Sri Guru Charana Padma song, Chakudan Dilo Ye Janne Janne Prabhu say, we sing to Srila Prabhupada, you open our eyes with transcendental knowledge. You are my Lord, birth after birth. It's the same consciousness to aspire for. And it relates here. Because, okay, Prabhupada writes, the statement here that the Lord manifests himself before the devotee in the form in which the devotee likes to worship him indicates that the Lord becomes subordinate to the desire of the devotee, so much so that he manifests his particular form as the devotee demands. Similarly, in the verse itself, Lord Brahma states, you are so merciful to your devotees that you manifest yourself in the particular eternal form of transcendence in which they always think of you. So this is different than the order supplier mentality. This is loving reciprocation, that the pure devotee, the unconditional devotee, as exemplified by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Prabhupada, Narottam Das Thakur, that they're reciprocating, and so then, because the idea is this isn't like God is the order supplier, and so the idea is to worship, serve Krishna with all reverence, And then when that service is so pure, then interestingly, Krishna becomes subordinate to the devotee. Krishna, out of love, is like this. Yeah, how can I reciprocate with your pure devotion? And then, and so it's so, and we've discussed this and like that. So there are so many different forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's Krishna in Vrindavan, Krishna in Dvarka, Krishna with the gopis, Krishna with Rukmini and the queens in Dvarka, Krishna with the cowherd boys. There's Lord Nrsingadev and associates of Prahlad Maharaj and Ramachandra, Mohini Murti form, and unlimited. It's described in the third chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The expansions of Krishna are more numerous than the waves in the sea. And so according to personal taste, like some might like, my favorite flower is the pink rose. My favorite flower is the jasmine or the magnolia. We've got magnolia season now, right?
Gardenia.
Is it a gardenia? A gardenia. Okay, so that's actually, there's so many types of flowers. So similarly, I'm particularly attracted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of Dattatreya. What's that? Damodar. Okay. So many forms. Unlimited. Okay. And then, so it's like, we can say, what's my special attraction? And kind of the guidance here is like, don't put your mind there. Okay? So it's, because, no, it can be very purifying and wonderful. What's my special attraction? It can also become a distraction. It can be good because we're recommended basically to realize right now, meeting ourselves where we're at. My special attraction is to Krishna in his energy called Maya.
That's all they want.
Yeah. That's the recommendation. That like, am I attracted to Krishna playing the flute? And no, because we're reading this and read those descriptions, but to see, meeting ourselves where we're at, my main attraction is to Krishna's energy called Maya, to be an illusion and think that I'm great and I'm the center of the universe, and that's meeting ourselves where we're at. And then if we get like unduly absorbed in like, what's my special attraction to, what's my personal relationship in my spiritual body, then that could become a distraction from this like mood we're hearing from Prabhupada, like how can I serve? How can I serve today? How can I serve today? And then, like, as we have that mentality where just let me serve you, Srila Prabhupada, just let me serve you. Then, as far as like those more esoteric in our original spiritual body, because as we serve with sincerity and humility and rigorous adherence to sadhana bhakti, there's sadhana bhakti and raganuga bhakti. Raganuga bhakti means spontaneous devotional service. Sadhana bhakti is like, okay, we're going to make some smart goals, commitments like that. And then even if a devotional soul is on that platform of spontaneous, loving, playful devotion with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, basically they're going to keep quiet about it. And if they're advertising it, there could be cause for skepticism. Like, what's this about? Yeah. So we can see, like what we just read from Prabhupada, he's just like, there he is in New York, he's penniless, he has, a few copies of the Bhagavatam, trying to, get some exchange for them and like that, just like, how can I serve you? Yeah, because Prabhupada could have been in Vrindavan, celebrating Janmashtami and Gaurapranim, wonderful feasts and things like that. And he's just like, well, I'm here to serve the mission of my spiritual teacher, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, like that. So how can I serve? We don't want to get distracted from that. And then as far as like, Prabhupada uses the term here, it's a rather esoteric term, Svarup Siddhi. The attachment for a particular form of the Lord is called Svarup Siddhi. What's my Svarup Siddhi? Am I a bumblebee on the garland of a gopi assistant of Srimati Radharani? So the idea is like, as far as our Svarup Siddhi, not to get distracted by it, and simply to be rigorous in our sadhana, chanting Hare Krishna Japa, fulfilling our vows, and alive in how can I serve Srila Prabhupada's movement. And then we become more and more dear to Prabhupada, and then that's how we please Krishna. We please Krishna by pleasing Srila Prabhupada. And then just like the sun rises in its own time, when Srila Prabhupada and Sri Krishna want Super Soul to reveal our Svarup Siddhi, then that will be revealed. We're interested in service. We're not interested in, look what esoteric realizations I have. Okay? Not that those esoteric realizations aren't there. Just like, again, kind of like, I don't know, let's say it's 2 a.m. and I'm meditating for the sun to rise, and then let's say at 6 a.m. the sun rises because of my meditation.
Of course it did.
Yeah. No, the sun is independent of my meditation. The sun rises in its time. Similarly, these more esoteric realizations of our Svarup Siddhi with Krishna, that gets revealed. That just naturally gets revealed. It's not like, let's not try for it. Let's try to serve purely today. Let's try to serve purely today. And that's our process called sadhana bhakti. And yes, and so Srila Prabhupada emphasizes that. I'm endeavoring to represent Prabhupada's purport here. And then Srila Prabhupada says, the state of prema, that's the Svarup Siddhi state. The state of prema, fully pure heart. Pure means my only desire is to serve Krishna through my current link to the Parampara, Srila Prabhupada. I'm not interested in fame. Let me be ridiculed. Let me be mocked. Let me be condemned. No looking good. No being right. It's not that I'm like trying to be ridiculed or mocked. Like, look at me, I'm a martyr. That just becomes another aspect of false ego. Right? But just let me serve. And let me be honored or dishonored or praised or condemned. Just let me serve. Just let me serve. That's the spirit. And Prabhupada says this state of prema is achieved by the gradual process of development from faith to love. On faith, one associates with bona fide devotees, and by such association one can become engaged in bona fide devotional service, which includes proper initiation and the execution of the primary devotional duties prescribed in the revealed scriptures. So again, Srila Prabhupada, proper, bona fide, as opposed to pseudo. And as some of us have been discussing in different forums, not just in the name of spiritual life or bhakti, in the name of Prabhupada. There's more and more that's just bogus and not bona fide and not authorized and not authentic. And so one needs to be sincere and really apply our intelligence to get what's actually Prabhupada. And then once we get what's actually Prabhupada, okay, to process it in the association of sincere followers of Prabhupada to understand what's being said like that. And so Prabhupada here, he's referring to a process. And this is something that attracted me from when I first started taking prasadam and reading some of Prabhupada's small books in 1980. It was 1983 till I read Bhagavad Gita cover to cover in Villa Vrindavan outside of Florence, Italy. Before that, I was reading some of the small books, Beyond Birth and Death, Science of Self-Realization, things like that. This isn't like, it's not like, I believe, I don't believe. I'm a Buddhist, but I was a Jew, but I think I'll become a Muslim next week. I root for this football team. I root for the Yankees. Now I root for the Phillies. It's not like what card do you hold? It's a process of transformation. And since the 1970s, I'm excited about transformation. So Prabhupada's describing a 9-step process, described mainly in 2 places. Okay, so one is the nectar of devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. That's where we have the Rasamrita name, mainly from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the ocean of the nectar of devotional relationships. And so Srila Rupa Goswami there, he gives 2 verses that describe a 9-step process. Prabhupada quotes those verses in chapter 4, text 10 Bhagavad Gita, and he gives a purport on them. The verses are Adal Shraddha, starts with faith. Adal Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangato Bhajana Kriya. Tato Narta Nivriti, pulling the weeds from the garden of the heart. A lot of what we do in Safato is the pulling the weeds aspect of bhakti. There's watering and there's pulling the weeds. Tato Narta Nivriti Tato Nishta Ruchistata. And then when we get to the upper levels of the 9 steps, that gets into Svarup Siddhi, Prema, Atasatis Tato Bhavo, Tata Prema Bhunachati, Sarnakanam Maya Premna Sarpadar Bhave, Bhavet Krama. This is the step-by-step scientific process. And so it starts with, the idea is like, okay, through some association, we get like, I don't know, these like practitioners of Krishna consciousness, these fellow Prabhupada, there's something special, something special, something like different, so like a different quality. It's pretty weird. I don't know, but like there's something attractive about it. It looks dangerous. Is this going to ruin my entire life? Let me be careful. But that's the process. And to like, okay, let me try something. They're doing something. I don't know. They got the 4 a.m. Ooh, and they chant this mantra, and they read these books, and they have this, and then they some with the food, and it's like this whole thing. And let me associate with them a little bit more. I'm just curious. Yeah, yeah, okay. And then of course, then it's getting dangerous at that point, like that. Adal Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangato Bhajana Kriya. And then Bhajana Kriya, that's what Prabhupada's talking about. But Bhajana Kriya, that's where it's like, I don't know if anyone's looking, but like, I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to commit to this. Okay, like that. That's like a next step. Because like at any stage, it's purifying. But then like, okay, I'm committing to the container and the ground rules of this seminar. I'm not just like going to peek my head in like that. And so initiation, Srila Prabhupada will say about himself, of course, in his past. Srila Prabhupada is a pure devotee of Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, from the time of his appearance in Calcutta in 1896. Same time in the past time. And his father, Gaur Mohan Dev, was a pure devotee. In his father's free time, his father would study Chaitanya Charitamrita and like that. So, special birth there. And so, but Srila Prabhupada, he said that in 1922 when he met his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, Prabhupada argued with Bhaktisiddhanta. Later Prabhupada would say, I argued with him, and I was happily defeated. And then on the way out, Srila Prabhupada commented to his friend. His friend dragged him there because Prabhupada was so skeptical about these holy people. He was very skeptical. But he said, no, this is his friend, Narendranath Mulik. His friend said, this is the real deal. Like, come on, let's at least try it. And so Prabhupada was defeated. And then on the way out, Prabhupada said to Narendranath Mulak, he said, Lord Chaitanya's mission is in good hands. Because Lord Srila Prabhupada is always a pure devotee of Lord Chaitanya. At the same time, he could see what was going on in the name of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. It was like a spectacle. It was an embarrassment. But he said, oh, wow, with Bhakti Siddhanta, it's in good hands. So Prabhupada said, right then and there, he committed his life to Bhakti Siddhanta's mission. And Prabhupada said that was the real initiation. And then 11 years later, in 1933, he got the formal initiation. And the formal initiation, that's also transcendentally potent. And that's like, it's a overt commitment. But Prabhupada said in his heart, he committed himself to follow Bhakti Siddhanta. So that's the essence, the real initiation. It's not just like dabbling and playing around, commitment. And then the whole process accelerates. And Ashwaratatasa, Sangato Bhajana Kriya. And then the process of cleansing the heart from desire for adoration, profit, distinction, popularity, compliments, all the subtle, all the heart gets cleansed. So many analogies, pulling the weeds from the garden of the heart. The Gundicha temple, cleansing the temple of the heart, the Gundicha temple pastime. We have one process and one safta, of course. It's all based around the Gundicha temple pastime. That's Majji Leela Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 12. So first, clearing out the big junk, and all the junk. But then, now here's finer pieces of dust and little pieces of trash. And Prabhupada uses that term. And so the one cleanses the garbage in the mind. And then one gets more and more of a taste with purification, more and more of the bliss and the taste, and then the sun rises and Swarup City is revealed. And so that's one place that this process is described, nectar of devotion. Another place is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, text 16 to 21, text 16 to 21, starting with Shushu Sho Shradadanyasya Vasudeva Katauche Sanmahat Sevayavi Prapunya Tirtani Shevanat. That by associating with devotees, one develops naturally an attraction to I want to get into what they're getting into. And so that's chanting and hearing Srinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanam Rijanta Stoya Bhadrani Vidunoti Sricetam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma super soul in the heart of all living entities, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, personally cleanses the desire for material enjoyment for the devotee who has developed the attraction to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. And then hearing Krishna personally takes the lead in the cleansing the heart process when he sees we have some sincerity. Nasta prayesva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavat utama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Srimad Bhagavatam, and by serving the pure representative of the Srimad Bhagavatam, all that is troublesome and disturbing to the heart, all that's unnatural in our heart, is practically completely destroyed. And loving devotional service to the transcendent Lord becomes established in the heart as an irrevocable fact. Tada rajastamo bhavo kamalabhadaya chaitayatera navidam stita sattve prasidati. As soon as devotional service bhakti is awakened as an irrevocable fact, then the effects of rajas and tamas, like greed and lust and envy and self-deception and all those stuff, they become cleansed, and thus the devotional soul becomes happy in sattvic consciousness. Evam prasana manaso bhagavat bhakti yogadaha bhagavat tattvaviganam mukta sangasya jayate. Thus one whose mind is enlivened by contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the heart, attains positive scientific realization, not just theoretical, scientific realization, Supreme Personality of Godhead in the stage of complete non-attachment from all material association. All the association, that's a disturbance for the mind, non-attachment to it. And then Vidyate Vidyagrantish Chidyante Sarvasamshaya Kshiyante Tasyat Karmani Drishteva Manishvare. Thus the knot in the heart is pierced, and all misgivings are slashed to pieces. The chain of fruitive activity is terminated. It's brought to closure when one realizes the self, that the self is master, the self in connection with super soul is the actual master, and not the modes of material nature. Atovai Kavio Krishna, like that. So Sutta Goswami goes on. So it says here, "O my Lord, your devotees can see you through the ears by the process of bona fide hearing, and thus their hearts become cleansed." So by hearing and chanting, our hearts become cleansed. Without a clean heart, we really give ourselves no chance for actual happiness. If our habits are impure, then we're just in deception and lust and greed and shame and like that. And so seeing through hearing, Prabhupada often emphasizes, seeing is overrated, and most of we see through hearing. Common example Srila Prabhupada gives, we give a lot. Okay, we see, what do we see with our eyes? In the sky, we see the sun's a circle, that's a yellow circle about 3 inches in diameter. But that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing a stellar body 1.4 million times the volume of the earth. But but that's what we're seeing. But we're seeing through hearing, because we heard from learned scientists. We read in a book, and like we heard, maybe in 3rd grade or high school or wherever. That's what the sun is. So we're seeing through the eyes of knowledge based on what we heard. So much of our seeing comes through hearing. And similarly, we see the soul, and we see Krishna, we see the super soul through purified hearing. And then, as described here, and even in mundane, this is like actual. There's a term grok. I don't know if anyone heard the term grok. That's from a book in the probably 60s or 70s called "Stranger in a Strange Land." There's a devotee who has been in Prabhupada's movement maybe since the early 70s, late 60s, named Yogeshwar Prabhu. And so, of course, we had Yogeshwar from Czech Republic come to Florida to conduct the initiation yagya. But this Yogeshwar, he wrote a book, he published a book 10, 20 years ago called Swami in a Strange Land. So he's borrowing the title from Stranger in a Strange Land. I have a book on my shelf called Blazing Sadhus. That's by Chutananda Prabhu. He's been Prabhupada's movement since 1966, one of his very first followers. So he's borrowing that title from a movie from the 1970s called Blazing Saddles. You got it. You must be my generation. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So, so the term grok is used. So it's not just like seeing, but it's an actual realization. It's a transformational realization. And so that's what's described here, a transformational realization of Krishna in the heart. It's described in the Brahma Samhita. Angani yasya it's one of the verses we sing every day at the Govindam prayers. Angani asya sakalendriya vrittimanti pashanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti ananda chinmaya sarujvala vigrahasya govindamadi pusham tamaham bhajami. That Krishna's senses, Krishna, they're spiritual form, but it's not like material form. It's just like the tree is completely different than the shadow. In spiritual form, spiritual senses, each sense is capable to perform the functions of all the senses. So that's so by seeing, by seeing one can eat, and by all the senses. So similarly here, we get some glimpse of that. Also, we see with the ears. Allen Ginsberg, he was a leader. He was an intellectual leader of the beat movement, the beatniks, the hippies. And he befriended Srila Prabhupada because he back in '66, and so because of Allen Ginsberg, Prabhupada's movement accelerated its growth because Allen Ginsberg was very influential. And in one interview, they asked Allen Ginsberg about Krishna consciousness, and he said, "This Krishna consciousness is more far out than any acid trip I've ever taken."
Great publicity.
You couldn't write a better script. Allen Ginsberg said it's more for, and it's like everyone started chanting Hare Krishna. I'm doing this. Okay, like that. It was great publicity. And then they would get the Be High Forever program, because whatever you smoke, whatever you take. Okay, well, what about 12 hours from now? Oh yeah, there's that whole crash thing. So Prabhupada said, this is a Stay High Forever program. And it's true. So I'll close with another text from Sri Brahma Samhita. Premanjana charita bhakti vilochanena santa sadeva vidayeshu vilokayanti yam shama sundaram achintya guna svarupam govindamadi pusham tamaham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who is Shyamasundar, Krishna himself, possessing innumerable transcendental attributes, in whom the pure devotees realize in their heart of hearts with eyes of devotion tinged with the salve of love. So to realize Shyamasundar, Krishna in the heart, or whatever form we're naturally attracted to in our Siddhaswarup, that comes from cultivating eyes of devotion tinged with the salve of love. So I'll read this verse, and then I'm glad to hear any comments or questions. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 9, Text 11. Tvam Bhakti Yoga Paribhavitarit Saroja Ase Shutekshita Pato Nanunatta Pumsam Yad 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 Ta Urugaya Vibhavayanti Tat Tad Vapu Pranayase Sadanugrahaya. O my Lord, your devotees can see you through the ears by the process of bona fide hearing, and thus their hearts become cleansed, and you take your seat there. You are so merciful to your devotees that you manifest yourself in the particular eternal form of transcendence in which they always think of you. Hare Krishna, thanks for giving your hearing power to Srimad Bhagavatam. Aditya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I just had one sharing or question maybe. Like I really liked how you mentioned the example of the sun. We have never seen with our own eyes if it's a ball or a disc. We
Yeah.
do believe it through hearing.
Through hearing.
And that in respect to the line from this verse, the Lord, however, does not disclose himself to casual or unauthentic worshipper to be exploited.
Yeah.
So, what was coming to me is like in this world, like 99% of the population, they don't realize there's a way to actually see the God, see Krishna or God or whatever they may call it. But there is a process here, and that
Yeah.
is not known widely known. So what was coming to me is like, now that this knowledge is available, it feels like a privilege, and to know this, and it almost, the sun example feels more enlivening, knowing this esoteric knowledge, and it feels like a, almost like a, something that has been gifted to us, which is extremely valuable,
Hmm.
in respect to bhakti. Um, so yeah, I feel that it's a gift given to us.
Well, thanks for sharing. What I'm understanding, Aditya Prabhu, is like, yeah, that this process, it's a gift. It's the sun revealing itself, and as you said, the vast majority of the population is not aware of this process. So I hear your gratitude that through Srila Prabhupada and Srimad Bhagavatam and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance, that you're aware, you're aware of this gift to actually know God, to know Krishna through this process of bhakti, loving devotional service, which in the beginning stages, that's where I'm at in the beginning stages, is following the regulative principles, and then that, like the sun reveals itself, then that loving devotion naturally gets revealed through the process of bhakti. And thanks for sharing that. Yeah, and you're right, because even amongst knowers or followers of the Vedas, bhakti is it's it's a mystery. It's unknown. It's generally seen like, oh, bhakti. Oh yeah, I guess you could do bhakti. Then that can help you eventually to merge into the oneness. Basically, bhakti is for old women and children. I
Yeah.
think that's what
I'm
it's.
okay with that.
Yeah, you're okay. Honestly, it's fine. So no objection there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's not a serious But no, to actually realize the most complete aspect of the absolute truth, Bhagavan, Sri Krishna, the person of Godhead, bhakti is the way, and other processes serve and complement that. And so I hear your gratitude, and that's why, yeah, like Krishna says, Rajavijay Rajaguyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam. He says, this is the most secret of all secrets, this bhakti. We say, well, what's so secret about it? It's the Bhagavad Gita. It's being announced, the whole universe. What's so secret about it? But like, it's an open, Prabhupada uses the term, it's an open secret, because even though it's there, unless someone's heart is ready, we're just not going to accept that process of bhakti, which requires humility and dissolving the material ego. So I appreciate how you're appreciating this process of bhakti yoga. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I also wanted to add, as you were saying, like, I was wondering why it's was important to me, this topic or this line which I read from the verse, because it was becoming important for me, because like when I started my bhakti, the whole reasoning behind following bhakti was to see God. And if I'm
Yeah,
not seeing God, I don't have a reason to, follow anything. So
yeah.
that stayed with me, that bothered me for a long time in my journey. And it is still does bother time to time, so it was very strong for me, and this was like a revelation. Although it was revealed before, also, we tend to forget our own realizations from time to time. So yeah, it's like a refresher today in a very enlivening and in a genuine way. So I think that's why it was becoming more present for me today. Yeah.
Thank you, Aditya Prabhu. So I'm hearing like this verse that we read in the discussion today about seeing Krishna in the heart through bhakti. This is like it's a pivotal transformational moment for you in your journey. Not that you haven't heard this before. At the same time, like this reality, this principle, it's landing deeply for you, and it's like it's a fruition of your spiritual journey in this lifetime.
Yes, bro. Thank you for reflecting. Yeah.
Thank you, Aditya. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Any other comments or questions?
I'd like to make a comment.
Yeah.
In the purport, it says each and every living entity is originally attached to a particular type of transcendental service because he is eternally the servitor of the Lord. And it reminds me of the Mark Twain quote of what are the two most important days. And so the day you were born and the day that you know the purpose.
You find out why.
You find out why.
Yeah.
And so it feels like, that's everyone's a devotee. And Prabhupada knew that. It's just a matter of when do you wake up
that we awaken
to what is that eternal transcendental service.
Yeah.
So I was at a graduation party yesterday, and so I put the Mark Twain quote in the graduation party, high school graduation.
Okay.
And so, because I was thinking, that's what I want to inspire, is for someone to really search for what is their transcendental service.
Thanks for that, Anasuya. And the Mark Twain quote, so appropriate to this principle, this text today, and so appropriate for a high school graduation card. And this gets to, I don't know what, whether Mark Twain realized his Siddha Swarup or this, I don't know, but it's such so much wisdom in that quote. And this gets to the ultimate, the two most important days of your life: the day you were born. Human birth is special amongst the 8,400,000 species. The day you're born, and the day you find out why. And our discussion here and the verse in purport, it really illuminates finding out why in the most meta sense, in the most sublime sense. Thanks for that, Anasuya. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to go practical.
Yeah.
And so you're saying, and I've heard it a few times, that anything nasty gets, once one enters this process, anything nasty gets destroyed from the heart.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Because so a lot of people who have deeply accepted the process still get a lot of trouble with nasty stuff in the heart. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that. Thanks for that. Well, I appreciate that. So there's the principle and the ideal, and then practically it, there's nuances. And so, you probably heard me even in like a Sachato seminar say about okay, so the process, one way it's two tracks: watering and pulling the weeds. And then pulling the weeds, the Sanskrit term is anartha nivritti. And so if we water and don't pull the weeds, we'll have a jungle of weeds that are strangling the pretty flowers. Of course, if all we do is weeding, different psychological processes, and we're not watering, then we have a desert, and that's not the goal either. So what happens? What happens here is, as an example, just to give some framework for where I think your question's going, and I'm not claiming to be having great success in pulling the weeds in my heart, but what's happening is, if we water, and Prabhupada talks about this so much, but I can say in Prabhupada's movement, and I've been around for 46 years, the pulling the weeds aspect tends to be neglected, just like creating sacred space in relationships. It's so much a part of the process in philosophy. It tends to be neglected in most sectors of Prabhupada's movement. That's why the Kuli Mela, they've invited me to give a transformative communication workshop at their Kuli Mela in June. So let's say if I'm watering, but I'm not pulling the weeds, Okay? And then when pulling the weeds, it's not optional. It's a part of the process. And I just quoted so many verses to illustrate that. So let's say I chant, and so it's a pretty common experience. I chant, and do either maybe I get up early and do the program, and then I notice things are getting worse. Okay, all this lust and resentment and greed and irritation and frustration. So it means the process isn't working. When we say no, it means the process is working. Just like foundational course, advanced course, say by, I'm doing good. Yeah, I remember this was a course in Switzerland several years ago, maybe 2008, 19 in Switzerland, and at the beginning of day 2, and someone got in front of the ark, and he said, before this course started, I was happy. Yeah, so it ruined everything. So because there's, so what we were pushing down, the beach ball comes up, and like, well, I didn't know that deception was there. I didn't know that heavy hostility was there. I didn't know that jealousy was there because I was pushing it down. It was controlling my life from beneath the conscious surface. As Carl Jung said, till we make the unconscious conscious, it'll direct our life, and we'll call it fate. And so similarly, so the most powerful transformational process in the cosmos is chanting the names of Krishna. So we chant, stuff's going to come up that we didn't realize was there. Oh, the room's a lot more dirty than I thought. Okay, so then that's a chance to pull those weeds. Let's say if I have a weed of arrogance and needing to feel superior, maybe because I really feel insecure, so I need to show myself as greater than you, and this and that. And it used to be like, I'm the one who makes the most money, or I'm the most attractive person, or I'm the smartest person. Okay, now I'm the most Krishna conscious person, right? So then every time I get up early to chant 16 rounds, and every verse I memorize, that's good. And I mean, the process is pure, but if I'm not pulling the weeds, then that just reinforces, like, I'm even more superior to you than I thought. I'm even more superior to you than yesterday. I got up at 3 a.m. and did this, and you're still sleeping. Okay, so then, yeah. So then I'm doing this. So then, as you can see, I'm all full with this arrogance and pride, and thinking I'm humble because, what's with these ugly poisonous weeds. I can see your ugly poisonous weeds, but my ugly poison, I think they're pretty flowers, like that. And so often what happens, that I think addresses at least some of what your question goes to, is that there's a neglect of the pulling the weeds part. And then that's just a vital part of the process. And if we neglect that, there are consequences, and then the weeds will suffocate the flowers.
Okay, thank you. So I'm not satisfied, although I understand the points that you make, and so there are two things. One is, what is this statement? It doesn't really answer the statement. So I appreciate as the watering happens, the weeds also are growing. Okay. So really, it makes no difference. Before, I wasn't watering, and there were fewer weeds, fewer flowers. Fine, and now there are. Now it's more weeds, more flowers. Not much of a change. I mean, that's not my experience. It's just somewhat much of the same. There is. It's not just that. I get the. There is a richness. There is a richness in more flowers and more weeds. There's something is okay. So somewhat it is different, but it's not exactly exciting like if you take to this, your karma will be erased.
Yeah.
Well, that is not karma. Karma is not erased for having taken on the process. No, karma is being dealt with all the time. The weeds are growing. It's not. It's so I don't understand what this statement is actually really saying. You know,
Okay.
if the statement was saying, yes, you take on to the process and life will be richer and there will be a lot of work because a lot more is going to come up. But it says the opposite. It says you take on the process and you get cleansed. Yes, the cleansing is happening. You don't just get cleansed.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think I'm understanding at least some of what you're asking. Now, one thing, it's not that the weeds increase, just our awareness of the weeds increase as we're in the process. And yes, so, okay, that, yeah, in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, there's many statements that karma is destroyed. Karma is destroyed through bhakti. And yeah, so if we choose in this moment pure bhakti, because then all those weeds, all the effects of karma, they're gone. They're gone in one moment. Maybe you're familiar with that lecture excerpt from Srila Prabhupada in Australia. Someone said, how long does it take to become like Krishna conscious, Prabhupada? 1 minute. 1 minute. So this whole process, it can be genuinely bypassed or completed in 1 nanosecond. So like here we are, for hour 15 immersed in Bhagavatam. Maybe we chanted 16 rounds earlier today. And so we're fully absorbed in bhakti. We're fully absorbed in bhakti. Then the weeds are gone. The weeds are gone. Okay? And that's philosophically true. Mam shio vyabhicharina bhaktirgana sevate sagunan samtite brahma bhuya kapate. And maybe we've experienced moments or days like that. We're absorbed in bhakti. Bhakti it just destroys the karma. That's true. Now, are we steady on that platform of pure bhakti? Are we choosing it the next moment, the next moment, the next moment? 5 hours from now, tomorrow, when we're scrolling on our devices. So once we descend from the platform of pure devotional service without motivations, so pure devotional service without motivations, that whole 9-step process, all the weeds, gone in 1 moment. Okay? But even if we're there, if we descend from that, then we reconnect with the machine of the weeds and the karma. Then we reconnect with the machine of the weeds and the karma. So that's why in that process, the 9-step process, it's not linear. I mean, it's not strictly linear. Okay, so like we can think of it in terms of in a linear way, but then to help us understand. But a devotional soul in the process, struggling with the weeds of resentment and deception and greed and lust, but then maybe they're absorbed in kirtan, maybe they're absorbed in studying a verse from Bhagavad Gita, and it's pure. Okay, they are free from their karma. The weeds are gone. And perhaps later that day, when maybe they're consuming something that's not prasad because they're a slave of their tongue, or they're losing control of their anger at their spouse for some petty reason, okay, then they've reconnected with the machine of karma and all the weeds from earlier this lifetime and previous lifetime. So that's how there's no actual contradiction. It's a gradual process for most everyone, and at the same time, in one moment we connect with, choose pure bhakti, process is complete. And then the process continues simply in increasing love.
One more question. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's when the devotion, when bhakti is pure, then that is clear that the karma at this moment is destroyed, and then maybe I jump off and really it comes back to what I was saying earlier. It's like basically it looks the same. It looks the same. Going to bhakti and karma is gone looks the same as popping a pill and karma is gone. It's like, oh, do you see what I mean? It's like, it actually looks exactly the same. There's weed, flowers, and freedom from misery in both the realm, in the ignorant realm and in the wise realm. So one is definitely taking us to liberation, and one isn't, but actually it does look the same, really.
Externally, it could look the same. One is tamasic and the other is Shuddha Sattva. Externally, it could look the same. Yeah.
The LSD trip.
The LSD trip, yeah. So one, it could look the same, but one is entangling us further in creating more karma, whereas in the process of Shuddha Sattva Bhakti, it's transcendental and it's a stay high forever karma-free program.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, Sylvan. We can close with one more. Rasamrita. Rasamrita referencing Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu.
Glad to be here with you guys. So the verse and where we went with discussion today made me think we recently read chapter 15, which is called Spontaneous Devotion, Love.
Yes.
And speaking of love in that chapter, it describes, similar to how you were speaking on how we can get distracted by, what is my relationship with Krishna, my bumblebee kind of thing. It specifically describes in the chapter how people can get overly involved with, if the gopis are like the best representation of loving devotional service to Krishna, and then they like pervert what that means and this kind of thing. So it's addressing.
That's called sahaja.
Yeah.
Sahaja. Yeah.
It's addressing lust, and it's addressing what love is. And there's I guess an edgy sentence, and the talk today made me think of it. It said, in the material world, almost no one is loving really towards their beloved.
Sure.
They're almost always in it for their own material gratification.
True.
And
sense gratification.
Yeah. And in reading that, when we were reading it together during the morning program, I just felt so humbled, right? That even if I think I'm being loving, really, am I?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
that's to the essence of the distinction between love and lust. So much of what goes in the name of love is actually lust. That's material life.
I had another point to that. I'm forgetting it at the moment, but I'll mention something else that you talked
Let's
about.
We have unconditional love for our romantic partner. Let's say our romantic partner was in the body of a frog. Would our feelings be the same?
You may or may not be aware of this, but there's this whole thing on the internet about, like, if I was a worm, would you love me? Anyway.
Yeah, and then the pure devotee is like, yeah, because we're not seeing the worm or the female woman or the female man or a cat, a dog, or demon. That the pure devotee is seeing the soul in connection with Krishna.
Thank you. You're reminding me of something I wanted to say. So you quoted something towards the end of your talk, right at the end. and tam ham bhajami. And in it you said unconditional loving service.
Yeah.
And it made me think about our talk a different morning, maybe a couple weeks ago, in regards to commitment. Tinged with the salve of love.
Tinged with the salve of love.
And I'm thinking about how commitment is that loving, because love is both a feeling and it's a verb. And when we don't have the feeling, we can still choose the loving action.
Yeah.
And then that's the meaning of commitment, right? Like, I'm not feeling it, but this is what I'm doing.
And arguably, when we do the loving action without the feeling, that's great. That's a deeper love. It's like, I'll do this for you because I feel. Well, what if the feeling's not there and I'm still showing commitment through my actions? Arguably, that's even a higher form of love.
And so I'm getting realization of like that verse, so devotion tinged with the salve of love, meaning even when I'm heartbroken because Krishna isn't in front of me, I choose the loving action anyway. And I felt very moved by that whole thing that you mentioned about being heartbroken, because I recently gave a class and my reaction was grief. I was in grief for like days, and I'm having my own process around it doesn't feel good and I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. That relates to discipline and commitment. Thank you, Rasamrita. Srimad Bhagavatam ki.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.